Lydia M. Booth. Theirs is a story we can never know. In a tombstone forest of yes and no, the leaves coalesce in autumnal mess. How to tell a story without a theme? Miss Bacchus, do you dance, so we dream? In the mist, there are dogs and rats, and the incurious living in winter hats. Born in Bethnal Green, 1855, only precious daughter, will she survive? When Benjamin calls, she will not stall, for his uncle owns Greenmoor Quarry, York, and for its sandstone at Southwark, a wharf. In the mist there are dogs and rats, and the incurious living in winter hats. And now, one by one, their children come, procreation like the beats of a drum. Sore hands stretched to calm, she whispers psalms to Lydia, to Ben. Arthur comes today, not yet, not now, please, death, no, not this way. In the mist, there are dogs and rats, and the incurious living in winter hats. But yes, Arthur kills his unknown mother, and a fortnight later, grieving father takes Arthur too down to Marble Town. There, though lost to sight, to memory deared, but hand in hand with time they've disappeared. In the mist there are dogs and rats, and the incurious living in winter hats. Lizzie Stennett. "100 years ago, Miss Emma Bird, maidservant of Ingleside, London Road, received a postcard from A. Dear E, just a line to wish you many happy returns with love. On the front, tried and true, in friendship's name again I greet you." There is a picture of a church and lake, 2 boats, and a figure standing I take to be a fisherman or perhaps a priest, and all within the span of an ivy leaf. Sprigs with smaller leaves surround it, clumsy, touching. It's positively mumsy. In Highgate Cemetery, the ivy creeps around Mistress Lizzie's marble feet. Lizzie, Lily. There's a confusion here. Something, it seems, is not as it appears. 2 diminutives is rare. So what's conveyed? At 38, she's not the girl portrayed. Her parents' love is all I can suppose for an unmarried daughter. But who knows? A single child? Her only company, Miss Bird, and she, 3 years younger, perhaps preferred to the company of men. Palm fronds surround a lowercase lily. The cold is profound. Elizabeth and Joseph kept her home, their grief expressed in dynamic stone. I went online to search for more of her, found a postcard addressed, though not to her. They're united in a census, Miss Bird and Miss Stennett, here being disinterred. Whole ages have fled, and their works decayed, but ivy is evergreen, and will not fade. Symbol of friendship, reducer of days, I wonder ruefully of friendship's A subject beyond the bounds of memory, one small kindness defying the century. Albert Davis. He served with the 347th Mechanical Transport Company in the land of milk and honey, heaven but for a kind of killing gluttony. His body is buried in Ramla and remembered here in more temperate climes. Nearby a skeletal gasometer stands, encircling nothing, describes dead time. The still white limestone has cracked at the base, not quite flat, it strains against oblivion. Without difficulty we read its face. There's nothing beyond death's quotidian. There are scallop shells loose on the gravel. They signify a loss across the seas for a soldier who did not die in battle, succumbing perhaps to Levantine disease. How lately placed it's hard to reckon. Life, like memory, like gas, seeps unseen through cracks and gaps in time, has beckoned this last winter day, crying, I have been. Barnard Spall. The top's been lopped off Barnard's monument, an urn perhaps, or else physician's symbol. A slight kilter suggests there's been a movement, as though the thing's been shoved off its gimbal. It's the first spring day, there are hosts of daffs, the breeze is chilly. Weather's wiped away the lives from neighbouring stones. The doctor has to stand for all these unknowns, now, today. Tomorrow, maybe, for us all. A good man, known for an affable manner, who won where a hospital I know too well now stands, affection from the poor of Fulham Union. The unknown of the workhouse, dairymaids without a teat to pull, cooks and carters who could not sell their skills, laundry maids without a smock to soak, garden labourers. And now I'm floating down the Earl's Court Road, wondering whether after 60-odd years I've jet some Jessicism to lighten the load. Oh, I could have been, might have been, time leers. In the end, the device creaks, gimbals give, the good follow the bad, and the floater into memory, then oblivion. The daffs return, we grow remoter. Water. Sarah Goody. I think I can change my glasses for this. Blossom is snowing in the light spring breeze. Primrose butterflies swim through the flurry. Playground cries seem callings from the past. From the Mile End Road, a faint hint of curry. Storm brought Sarah Simpson Brandon from Barbados to Stepney. A hurricane before hurricanes had names, that shivered to powder servitude's sugarcane. The whole fabric of the island scattered to the winds, the hitherto opulent owners both of property and the people, unable to provide for the indigent. 4 surviving children at 28, with land, the slaves were freed in 33, at least to make her marriageable, and smart to do so soon, to Daniel Goody. The years pass, 3 new children are born, Mr. Goody rises from bricky to gent. Sometimes Sarah recalls the strange blue sun that preceded the hurricane, light bent, like the palms that bent in the hideous din that followed. How appalled was the heart, how alienated the mind, world undone, elemental chaos, life ripped apart. Life made whole again in modest Stepney. Grey light, boring rain, stinking river, Sarah matriarchal, Bromley Street full of those who might just might outlive her. Arthur Cross. Of 10 Belgrave Square. Nice situation. The doctor's neighbours assaulted grandees. Medicine was clearly a rich occupation. Now the square's wealth is in its embassies. Scroll back to 1869. Arthur's called from Spring Gardens to 19 Leicester Square. It's now Pizza Hut, where he's appalled to find John Henry Horne bludgeoned dying there. For 2 nights, young Dr. Cross keeps comfort. It's a cold December, a fire is set, food is sent out for. Death's dull drummer approaches mercifully with sunset. In a post-mortem examination, Cross finds a clot of blood the size of his fist. It leaves little to the imagination, its damage consistent with more than a slip. At the Black Boy and Apple Tree in St Martin's Lane, a fight broke out. The pub's now a gym box, thankfully. Not guilty, not beyond a reasonable doubt. Did a killer go free, or did Arthur asperse? Who cares now? Time dispenses with worry. 30 years later, Cross married a nurse, Miss Lizzie Burrell of Penge in Surrey. 7 years of love until once again Arthur sat vigil as his young wife's life slipped into memory, thence to oblivion, until this moment in this flickering line. We ate a sandwich at Brockley Station. The day was chilly, but a hint of haze promised the summer. All those patients, so tenderly cared for, have all gone their ways. Finally, Henry Giles. With what have you left us, Captain Giles? What blink of eternity left you so lost? The breeze gets up and I hear 8 bells. Into thy hands, O Lord, into thy hands, for a line has been crossed. Loving Margaret commits you to the earth, late of the seagull supplementary. A craftsman's anchor holds you to death. Into thy hands, O Lord, into thy hands. You've slipped by the century. Master of the spindrift, says the intel, the continuous driving of sea spray. Born North Shields, died in Camberwell. Into thy hands, O Lord, into thy hands. There's nothing more to say. Okay, that's that. I'm now going to do it again. And you can decide which to take. Lydia Emma Booth. Theirs is a story we can never know. In a tombstone forest of yes and no, the leaves coalesce in autumnal mess. How to tell a story without a theme? Miss Bacchus, do you dance? Shall we dream? In the mist there are dogs and rats and the incurious living in winter hats. Born in Bethnal Green, 1855, only precious daughter, will she survive? When Benjamin calls, she will not stall, for his uncle owns Greenmoor Quarry, York, and Fred Sandstone at Southwark, a wharf. In the mist there are dogs and rats and the incurious living in winter hats. And now one by one their children come, procreation like the beats of a drum. Sore hands stretched to calm, she whispers psalms to Lydia, to Ben. Arthur comes today. Not yet, not now. Please death, no, not this way. In the mist there are dogs and rats, and the incurious living in winter hats. But yes, Arthur kills his unknown mother, and a fortnight later, grieving father takes Arthur too down to Marble Town. There, though lost to sight, to memory deared, but hand in hand with time, they've disappeared. In the mist, there are dogs and rats, and the incurious living in winter hats. Lizzie Stinnett. 100 years ago, Miss Emma Bird, maidservant of Ingleside, London Road, receives a postcard from A. Dear E, just a line to wish you many happy returns with love. On the front, tried and true, in friendship's name again I greet you. There's a picture of a church and lake, 2 boats, and a figure standing I take to be a fisherman or perhaps a priest, and all within the span of an ivy leaf. Sprigs with smaller leaves surround it, clumsy, touching, it's positively mumsy. In Highgate Cemetery, the ivy creeps around her mistress Lizzie's marble feet. Lizzie, Lily, there's a confusion here. Something, it seems, is not as it appears. 2 diminutives is rare, so what's conveyed? At 38, she's not the girl portrayed. Her parents' love is all I can suppose for an unmarried daughter, but who knows? A single child, her only company, Miss Bird, and she, 3 years younger, perhaps preferred to the company of men. Palm fronds surround a lowercase lily. The cold is profound. Elizabeth and Joseph kept her home, their grief expressed in dynamic stone. I went online to search for more of her. Found a postcard addressed, though not to her. They're united in a census, Miss Bird and Miss Stinnett, here being disinterred. Whole ages have fled and their works decayed, but ivy is evergreen and will not fade. Symbol of friendship, reducer of days, I wonder ruefully of friendship's a subject beyond the bounds of memory, one small kindness defying the century. Albert Davis. He served with the 347th Mechanical Transport Company in the land of milk and honey, heaven but for a kind of killing gluttony. His body is buried in Ramla and remembered here in more temperate climes. Nearby, a skeletal gasometer stands, encircling nothing, it described as dead time. The still white limestone has cracked at the base, not quite flat, it strains against oblivion. Without difficulty we read its face. There's nothing beyond death's quotidian. There are scallop shells loose on the gravel. They signify a loss across the seas. For a soldier who did not die in battle, succumbing perhaps to Levantine disease. How lately placed, it's hard to reckon. Life, like memory, like gas, seeps unseen through cracks and gaps in time, has beckoned this last winter day, crying, I have been. Barnard's Ball. The top's been locked off Barnard's monument. An urn perhaps, or else physician's symbol. A slight kilter suggests there's been a movement, as though the thing's been shifted off its gimbal. It's the first spring day. There are hosts of daffs. The breeze is chilly. Weather's wiped away the lives from neighbouring stones. The doctor has to stand for all these unknowns now, today. Tomorrow may be for us all, a good man known for an affable manner, who won where a hospital I know too well now stands, affection from the poor of Fulham Union. The unknown of the workhouse, dairymaids without a teat to pull, cooks and carters who could not sell their skills, laundry maids without a smock to soak, garden labourers. And now I'm floating down the Earl's Court Road, wondering whether after 60-odd years I'm jettisoned to lighten the load. Oh, I could have been, might have been, time leers. In the end, the device creaks, gimbals give, the good follow the bad and the floater into memory, then oblivion. The daffs return. We grow remoter. Sarah Goody. Blossom is snowing in the light spring breeze. Primrose butterflies swim through the flurry. Playground cries seem callings from the past. From the mile-end road, a faint hint of curry. Storm brought Sarah Simpson Brandon from Barbados to Stepney, a hurricane before hurricanes had names, that shivered to powder servitude's sugarcane. The whole fabric of the island scattered to the winds, the hitherto opulent owners both of property and persons, unable to provide for the indigent. 4 surviving children at 28, with land, the slaves were freed in 33, at least to make her marriageable, and smart to do so soon, to Daniel Goody. The years pass, 3 new children are born. Mr. Goody rises from bricky to gent. Sometimes Sarah recalls the strange blue sun that preceded the hurricane. Light bent, like the palms that bent in the hideous din that followed. How appalled was the heart, how alienated the mind, world undone, elemental chaos, life ripped apart. Life made whole again in modest Stepney. Grey light, boring rain, stinking river, Sarah matriarchal, Bromley Street full of those who might just might outlive her. Arthur Cross. Of 10 Belgrave Square. Nice situation. The doctor's neighbours assorted grandees. Medicine was clearly a rich occupation. Now the square's wealth is its embassies. Scroll back to 1869. Arthur's called from Spring Gardens to 19 Leicester Square. It's now a Pizza Hut, where he's appalled to find John Henry Horne bludgeoned, dying there. For 2 nights, young Dr. Cross keeps comfort. It's a cold December, a fire is set, food is sent out for. Death's dull drummer approaches mercifully with sunset. In a post-mortem examination, Cross finds a clot of blood the size of his fist. It leaves little to the imagination, its damage consistent with more than a slip. At the Black Boy and Apple Tree in St Martin's Lane, a fight broke out. The pub's now a gym box, thankfully. Not guilty, not beyond a reasonable doubt. Did a killer go free, or did Arthur asperse? Who cares now? Time dispenses with worry. 30 years later, Cross married a nurse, Miss Lizzie Burrell of Penge in Surrey. 7 years of love, until once again Arthur sat vigil as his young wife's life slipped into memory, thence to oblivion, until this moment in this flickering line. We ate a sandwich at Brockley Station. The day was chilly, but a hint of haze promised the summer. All of those patients, so tenderly cared for, have all gone their ways. Finally, Henry Giles. With what have you left us, Captain Giles? What blink of eternity left you so lost? The breeze gets up and I hear 8 bells. Into thy hands, O Lord, into thy hands, for a line has been crossed. Loving Margaret commits you to the earth, late of the seagull supplementary. A craftsman's anchor holds you to death. Into thy hands, O Lord, into thy hands, you've slipped by the century. Master of the spindrift, says the intel, the continuous driving of sea spray. Born North Shields, died Camberwell. Into thy hands, O Lord, into thy hands. There's nothing more to say. I thank you.